This is Will Levy in the Office of Recapitalization at HUD. We're here to do a pretty short webinar this time around on inputting project and ownership data into the RAD resource desk. This is part of a broader effort to streamline our RCCs, make sure that when they are issued that the information is correct. So I'm going to pass this on to my colleague Robert Robinson, who will walk through the new page on the resource desk where project and ownership data would be entered so that seamlessly it can be transcribed onto the RCC once issued.
Great. Thanks, Will. As many of you have participated in these in the past, this is a live webinar with you all out there in cyberspace. And we do encourage questions and raising of hands and asking questions, or if you're not at a place where you can actually use the phone, you can actually type in your questions, and we'll be looking at the questions and answering those as we go through. So this is the way you do it. So just make sure that you either enabled your audio pin, or in some cases you have to say whether or not you're using your computer speakers and microphone. And if you have a microphone on your computer, you can certainly use that. Once you've done that, you see an option to raise your hand. When you do that, I'll see your hand raised, and then we can call on you. I can unmute you from here. Or if you don't have that functionality, please feel free to type in a question, and we'll be happy to read that for you as we move forward. So now we will jump into what I'm going to do today is show you a new section and of the kind of it's embedded in the financing plan section of the resource desk. So here's the main page of the resource desk. You all should be familiar with this. I'm going to go log in, and I'm going to be a PHA, so I'm going to be one of you all. So once I've logged in, you all are all familiar with the kind of main section. Since I'm registered as the PHA primary, I have the PHA primary portal. If you're just a typical PHA user and you're not the executive director or the primary contact, you wouldn't see this, but you can get to your transactions. This particular PHA has a number of transactions, and we're going to be working on Happy Homes today. So Happy Homes, we're going to be submitting the financing plan. So I'm going to go down to the financing plan milestone, and I'm going to upload some documents. This one, not that we need any documents, but if you were moving forward, you'd be uploading pieces and filling all this information out. As a reminder, part of the financing plan submission is to update the transaction log. So hopefully you are all familiar with updating the transaction log. And then all of the information for the milestone that you're going to be entering. This is the financing plan submission date, so all of the information that you want to update is here. If you have an RCC issued, for example, you're moving to closing, that's when you want to start using these additional columns. This is just a reminder. I know some of you already know this and have done this in the past, but some of you that are newer to the program might not realize that, so I just wanted to make that a point for you. Also, something that I think some of you have not realized is that the gross potential rents for RAD, this number is actually being calculated for you up in this column, up at this corner here. This is done from the most recent CHAP that you've been given. So if there's an OCAP adjustment that you have not gotten or that you're due, once that's done, this number will change, and it cross-references for this number to make sure that you've put the right information in there. If you have not put the right information in there, we'll show you what happens. So if I change that and it no longer matches, and I save that, and then I go back to the transaction log again, I get this red arrow message. So if you're getting a red arrow message like this, that is why you're getting that. So please make sure to take the time to double check your rents to make sure that the gross potential rents that you're using in your pro forma matches what your CHAP says. Another piece that we want to make sure that everybody's aware of is, in addition to the gross potential rents for a RAD transaction, if I have income from, this is a mixed income property, and I have market rate units in the property that are going to generate some income, and I add that to my pro forma, you will notice that a new line comes up asking for the number of units that that income is going to be generated from. Okay? So in this case, let's just say we have 40 market rate units. Okay? And I'm going to save the template and exit that. That is very important, particularly in the RAD conversion commitments that are being issued and generated, to make sure that the total numbers of units of the property are matching what the legal documents are saying moving forward. So I want to make sure everyone's aware of that. Back to the main purpose of today's webinar, which is the ownership data. This is a new button that you all will, I think, have already started seeing, but certainly we'll start seeing Monday, which it'll be active. And you'll notice that we have a red warning saying that the ownership data has not yet been confirmed. Your transaction managers can no longer issue a final RCC for signature until you, the PHA, have confirmed the ownership data. So starting Monday, for a TM to issue an RCC, this step that we're going through this afternoon is going to have to be completed. And we're going to go through that, and you're going to see that this red goes away. Transaction managers, when they log in, will also see this information and will know that you have not done that. So they will start asking you to make sure that you do this. Okay? So when you hit the ownership data button, a new screen is going to come up, and this screen pulls the most recent information that's on the resource desk. So, for example, if there was an address listed in the application, or somebody has provided this information and the resource desk has been updated, that information will be here for you, and then you can edit it if it's incorrect. For our presentations today, I just made sure that it was blank. So you, as the PHA, will want to enter the information about the existing property. If the property is staying at this address, obviously this is critical. If it's a transfer of assistance or something like that, the recap office does want this information. So if you can please enter it. One of the things that, over the last 2 years has been very apparent is that you, the PHA, and the owner know these addresses and information much better than the transaction managers, and much better than oftentimes the PIC information that's being pulled and used is not quite accurate enough. Also, sometimes there are post office boxes that are issued, and the recap office wants actual mailing addresses. So the question may be, I have a scattered site project. What do I do with all of those addresses? So what the guidance has been is to put in as many addresses as you can. If there are 2 or 3 addresses, or if there are too many to list, simply put in various addresses and let your TM know that, so that they can make a note. There's another space on the resource on the conversion commitment that has that information, so they can do that. So in this case, let's just pretend like this is a standard high-rise building, and so we're just going to have a standard property address, and it's going to be in my hometown, North Carolina, and we're going to have a zip code. Okay. If you were creating a new property, where this was some sort of a transfer into another existing property, then we could do that on this as well. So you could enter that information. In this case, we're just going to pretend like the property is staying the same. We're leaving that alone. Okay. This information, the housing authority information, is being pulled directly from your information that you provided in your logins. So again, confirm this information. If this information is not correct, since this is kind of a general PHA information that we like to maintain through the recap office, if there's a problem here, please send the resource desk a note. If you hover over the little blue guy here, whoops, it's not working exactly. Anyway, we'll check on this. But when this site goes live, this little question mark, oh, there it is. I'm not quite over it. There we go. So this says that the field must be edited at the original source, so notify your transaction manager or the resource desk to make a change. So if you have something to change there, just let us know and we can do that. So the proposed project owner, okay, if the project is going to continue to be owned by the PHA, then you'll enter the PHA information here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and enter in that data. Okay, it's going to still be owned by me, so I'm going to leave my name and information in here. Okay, it's going to still be owned by a PHA, which is considered to be a public body, so we're going to keep that information there. And then the notice address is going to be the same address as the PHA. All right, and we're going to come back and deal with this later. The ownership structure is going to continue to be the PHA, okay, and the PHA is, in this particular case, the state of North Carolina. Okay, so this is going to be straightforward. I'm going to do a more complicated one in a minute, but I wanted to give you the easiest one, the easiest example. Okay, signature blocks, very important. Lots of information has come back to recap about issues with the signature block and not getting it right, and so this is a critical piece of this, and the critical piece of your confirming the ownership data is to actually put the signature block here. In this particular case, again, we're using a very simple case that the PHA owns it, so it's going to be probably pretty simple. So we're going to have the by line here, and this is exactly what we would like you to enter. We want to enter a signature block, okay, for this transaction. So I'm going to be signing, okay. I am also, since I'm the PHA and I'm also the owner, I'm also going to sign over here. This is a very simple signature block. If you would like to add the title, please feel free to do so, okay? But this is the signature block. This is what you should check with your attorneys and make sure that you're signing the way you need to sign, okay? If there's a new ownership entity that is embedded deeply in a holding company and you've got a subsidiary and it's all the way down, you need to put all of that information in here. This expands to fit whatever size you need. So if it is on behalf of, and you need to list out all of the various entities and you need to have a tree format, if you have this in Word, you can cut and paste it and put it in here. We've tried to make it as easy as possible for you all to enter the correct information so that we at Recap aren't getting comments back saying, well, the signature block is wrong, okay? So this is what we want you to do. For simplistic sake, again, I'm going to leave this the way it is, and I'm going to go back just to show what happens, and then we'll come back and do a couple of other examples. So once I've entered everything in, and I'm confident that this is correct, I'm going to hit the Save and Submit button. If I needed to go check something else, and I didn't know for sure that it was right, I could hit the Save Data for Later button. Or if I wanted to blank it out altogether, I could simply return to the milestone page. But in this case, we're going to save and submit. Okay? So once it's saved and submitted, I just want to do one last check to make sure it got everything I wanted. And it did. I'm happy about that. So now I'm going to return to the milestone page. Okay? And look, we have a nice change here that says ownership data has been confirmed. That is what we need to have in order to issue the RCC. That's not to say that you can't go back and change it. If you find something's wrong, you need to go back and change it. That's fine. But once you as a PHA have submitted this, the transaction manager will then be able to issue the RCC. Okay? So that's the most important thing I want everybody to realize. Now, a couple of nuances. Starting on the left-hand side. If this is an existing mixed finance transaction that is transferring ownership to a new entity, this box needs to be checked. Okay? You saw as soon as I checked that box, we got a new box to put in. Okay? This is where we want the existing project owner's name to appear. Okay? Once we do that, okay, then we're going to be able to enter all of the various information that we need to enter and get the additional data that's required on this transaction. Okay, so once I check that box, I have a new line item that I want to have. So we're going to save that for later just to make sure that it's all in there. Okay, then the rest of the information is going to fill out the same, but look, I have a new ownership block. Okay, So in cases where you have an existing owner and you're transferring ownership, you've got a new line item that needs to be filled in here. So we're going to have the PHA always signing, we're going to have the new owner signing, and then we're going to have the existing owner to sign here as well. Okay? So this is important. Check this box, save the data, creates the new signature line for you, then you continue on. Okay? If I uncheck that box and I save the data, it will go back to the original submission with 2 line items. Okay? Good, Greg, yes?
Robert, if I have an existing mixed finance project and I am converting, but the ownership of that mixed finance project is not going to change.
Don't need to check that box. You're only checking that box if you're transferring the ownership to another entity. So if you're existing mixed finance, it's simply the same as an existing owner today. You'll enter the same ownership information. So let's make that a little look right here. Let's just say that we're actually, the PHA is the current owner. It's not a mixed finance transaction, but I have a new owner. We're going to actually transfer the ownership to somebody else. So we're going to have a new nonprofit. Okay? That new nonprofit, Greg's going to own that, and we'll put his information in, and it's actually a nonprofit. Okay? I have a new person owning it, so Greg owns the property now, and he lives on his company's based on the Moon, and we're going to be in Anytown, North Carolina. Actually, let's be in Anytown, Kansas, just because he doesn't have to be based in North Carolina. The ownership structure is it's actually going to go to an LLC, okay? And they're also listed, even though they're located in Kansas, they're actually listed in Delaware. Okay? So now I've got the PHA signing, and the PHA is the existing owner, but the new owner is going to be Greg, and he's going to sign. Okay? So we're going to save that information, and all of that data is now there. Now, in this case, something that might be happening in this particular instance is this is a PPPV conversion. So if this is a PPPV conversion, we might have to be separated between the PHA owning and the PPPV administrator. So if that's the case, we want to check this box. You've now created a separate legal entity that's going to administer the voucher. Okay, sorry about that. I have no idea. We lost power here at headquarters, and now we're back. I'm not entirely sure where we stopped, where I got lost. Linda, hopefully you were still on. Do you know where we got cut off, or did you get cut off too?
Yeah. Well, I lost the audio, but the last thing I heard was when you were scrolling back up to the top after you added Greg's signature at the bottom.
Okay, great. Oh, good. So we didn't lose too much. So I apologize about that. I don't know. We lost power here at headquarters, and when that happens, there's not much we can do about that. So luckily, we didn't miss too much. So what I was attempting to do, and I'm sure you saw the screens where I was checking and unchecking the box. What I was attempting to do was walk through the when the PHA, is going to create a separate entity to own the HAP contract in a PPPV conversion. So in a PPPV conversion where the PHA is going to continue to own the property, but since they can't own the property and administer the HAP contract at the same time, we have the ability to create a separate entity that will be the owner, and the PHA can continue to own the property. So in that case, you would add whoever's going to own the HAP contract as the proposed project owner. You would enter their information, which I have done here, and then you would have that HAP owner sign on their behalf. So one of the things that you want to make sure is that you do check this box in those cases, because there are a couple of other things that are added to the RAD conversion commitment when that happens. So I do see that we've got some questions and some hands raised, and I'm seeing that most all of this is lost audio, and I'm going to delete all of those. You're all saying the same thing.
So as Robert is going through the questions that have been raised, so one of the concerns people might have is, so why are we doing this? Why are we adding this sort of new owner page on the resource desk? And it's primarily intended for us to minimize the number of RCC amendments that we have to do, because we get an enormous number of changes just having to do with who really is going to own the property, what's the address of the property. So this is intended to say, PHA, get that all out of the way, and then this will self-populate on the RCC.
That's right. And that's a great point, Greg. And this can be done at any time. This does not have to be done, at financing plan submission. You can do it before financing plan submission, at financing plan submission. The critical element is it needs to be done prior to the RCC being issued. Okay. I've got a couple of questions here, and so I'm going to go ahead and see if we can get those working. So I've got Vernon Liebert. Vernon? I've unmuted you, Vernon. Vernon? All right, Vernon, doesn't seem to work. Okay, then I've got Hannah.
He told me it didn't work 5 hours.
Hannah?
He told me he worked 8 hours that day.
All right. No on Hannah. Then I've got Nathan. Nathan, you're on the line with us.
Hi, this is Ron Law. I'm here with Nate Joseph,
Okay.
and I wanted to see how this maybe should be filled out. Let's take a fairly typical real-life tax credit example where the new owner is a tax credit limited partnership. The housing authority has a wholly controlled affiliate nonprofit that owns the for-profit general partner of the tax credit partnership. So,
okay, so I've got a new tax credit owner, and it's not particularly relevant. The additional information, Ron, that you gave us about how the PHA is maintaining their ownership isn't relevant on this page.
okay.
But so basically, what you're saying is we've got a new tax credit owner. Let's just pretend like you're going to be the new contact person, despite the fact that the PHA is going to continue in a high role. You're going to have a different address, And let's just put you, we'll just go ahead and leave you in North Carolina. You said it was a limited partnership, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so are we going to be in court? We'll just pretend like we're incorporated in North Carolina to keep things easy.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm still the executive director, but now you're the owner representative of this new entity.
Right.
Okay.
And it's the entity itself. It's not the managing partner.
Correct. Right.
We want to know who the legal entity is. Not at this page. It's not relevant to know the controlling partner or controlling interest. Just who is the legal entity.
Right.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Ron?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Will?
Will's here, yeah?
Yep.
If there's a new owner, did we not need to click the button up right there? Existing is transferring ownership.
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Never mind.
You got that.
So that button, so just to be clear, that button is only if it's an existing mixed finance transaction. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Does that get you guys what you need?
I think so. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you all for the question. All right, I have no other hand raises. I do have another question, however. So let's see what we say here. How do you handle when the PHA leases the land, but the improvements will be owned by an LP? Okay. Will, you want to take that, or you want me to take it?
Why don't you take it?
So the PHA, similar to what we just described, so the PHA is transferring ownership to the new owner. The new owner will have a name, all that sort of thing. So we're going to have this be, they're going to be the new owner. The PHA is maintaining their ownership and control for RAD purposes through that ground lease, but that's not dealt with on this page. This is all about who's signing. So in order for this to work, we're pretending like this is not a tax credit transaction. Let's just say that it's going to be a nonprofit that they're transferring it into. Okay, so you just make sure you select this correctly. Again, the structure can be whatever they want it to be. In this case, let's just make it be a nonprofit corporation. Okay, and then I'm going to be Charlie owner. Okay, so you're transferring it from the PHA. The PHA still has to sign. Again, the PHA is always signing. Okay, and the new owner will sign here, and all of this information is filled out correctly. Okay. All right. How would you enter information for the Hope 6 RAD conversion? I need a little bit more information on that, Michelle. If you want to raise your hand, we're happy to do that. But I don't know that I'll let Will talk. But I don't know that it would actually matter that much here.
So I think most Hope 6s are considered,
there she is.
Considered mixed finance. Oh, okay.
Michelle, you're there.
Yes, I'm here.
Great.
I'm just wondering if it's going to be if I need to add anything different or something to this page for the ownership, specifically for a property that's a Hope 6 property that the Housing Authority does not own, but it's going to be converted under the RAD.
So does the PHA own it now, or is it already in control of this other entity?
It's already in control of another private entity.
Right. So you would put the information of, so if the owner is not the PHA, you're going to put the ownership name here.
Okay.
Okay. So just to, and I know it's a little bit confusing to have this quote-unquote proposed project owner up here and new owner, because in your particular case, it's not really new. But
right.
For the resource desk purposes, what we want to consider this to be is just about any owner. Okay. So you want to put the information in here for that owner and the contact information here. There's no other boxes that you need to check because there's nothing being transferred, right? They're the current owner.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Michelle. All right. Let's see if I've got another question. So one of the questions is, does it make sense to make the ownership structure a drop-down list of options? We will certainly consider that. Thank you, Tony. just oftentimes when we're designing these sorts of things, we may or may not remember all of the different permutations. So, but we can certainly consider that. So thank you very much. Other questions, comments, concerns? Will?
So this is currently a function that is completed by the housing authority, or some of these fields, like the description of the owner, are going to be dropped into the RCC in specific fields that
Correct.
are there. Absent this, we would ask the PHA and the owner to fill out on their own. So really, if you're the PHA or owner, you should be viewing this as exactly how you want it to appear on the RCC.
That's exactly right. Very good point.
You're not satisfying HUD necessarily by describing it as a corporation or an LP or an LLC. It's really about when we issue the document to you, making sure that it's presented to you in the way you want it to be presented.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. All right, I'm checking for questions. Anybody's typing or raising of hands? Otherwise, with our audio hiccup, we ran a little bit longer than I had thought, but I thought we'd be about half an hour. So, again, this new feature will be live. It's actually already live, sort of. You see the button, but it will be operable with the PHA's quote-unquote owning this on Monday. So TMs will no longer be entering this information for RCCs. As always, if you have questions or concerns, or you do need technical assistance and you're struggling with this, please reach out to your TM, the resource desk, whomever. There are plenty of folks that can help you with this, and hopefully there won't be too many problems. This will be recorded. This has been recorded, so if you want to go back and listen to it or look at it again, you'll be able to do that. So with that, we will sign off from HUD headquarters, and thank you all for your participation.